What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Superboy-Prime from the Infinite Crisis series. And so here we have the McFarlane DC Multiverse Superboy-Prime pose and out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually run through his one and only accessory, which is a McFarlane flight stand. Unfortunately, he doesn't come with any alternate hands, no alternate head, nothing, which is a little bit unfortunate. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually have a closer look at Superboy-Prime. And so here we have a closer look at Superboy-Prime, and McFarlane has done a phenomenal job with this head sculpt. That is a very nice Superman head sculpt. They can actually use this for other Superman, and that's something I really do like. This is a very well sculpted Superman head. I can actually see a lot of people using this as a base to give your other Superman better head sculpts, because look at that. That almost looks like Christopher Reeve. It is such a very nice Superman head sculpt, and it just so happens to be on Superboy-Prime, which I think is a really nice little take on it. He does have the curly Q that Superboy-Prime did have. Now, as you can see, he does have the side eye, which we saw on Lex Luthor, which honestly I'm okay with. I would have liked to have an alternate head where he was looking straight at the camera, but having the side eye does give him a little bit of character, so that's a really nice little detail. Again, would prefer two head sculpts rather than the side eye, but we do have a really nice head sculpt, so I gotta let that slide. And he still has a Superman haircut, which is very good. Really like the detailing on it. Unfortunately, there's no shading, so we don't get any blue shading in that, which I would like to see some highlights just to bring out some detail. So enough about the head sculpt. Let's actually run through the detailing of the rest of the figure. So we do have Superboy-Prime in his armor, which we saw at the climax of Infinite Crisis, which if you haven't seen Infinite Crisis or read Infinite Crisis, I really recommend you pick it up. We do have his S-Shield here, which is a classic Superman S-Shield, but instead of the yellow on the inside, we get black, which is very nice. And I do like the fact that it is sculpted detail. It's not just templed on. There's paint, there's raised detail on the S, looking so very nice. And it is on his armor, which is cast in that pearlized silver plastic, so you might see some twirls and some swirls there at some places, but honestly I don't mind it all too much. It actually looks really nice. Could it use it like a silver coating? Yes, it could, but it still looks good. One thing I do gotta point out is some sloppiness in the paint, because some of these tubes are sculpted onto the armor. They did have to paint them to try to match them, which, as you can see, yeah, it is a little bit sloppy in some areas, which is a little bit unfortunate. But the armor has some really nice detail. You can see some studs right here, some line work. Really liking that. And then we have some more studs right here on the top. Then we do have the hoses coming from the front going all the way to the back of his suit, if I can just get that in frame. Looking really nice. We do have some tubes going from his shoulder all the way to his forearm right here, where we have some more detailing right here, which this is done in silver paint. Like, you can obviously see the silver plastic versus the silver paint. This looks much richer, and that looks so clean, to be quite honest, but it's still looking very snazzy. Actually, you know what? It might be its own separate piece. I haven't tried taking it off, but looking at it, there's some marbleization in there, so that might be its own separate piece, just cast in a much richer shade of silver. I'll have to double check this figure and move some things around, but yeah, that's starting to look like it's marbleized plastic. So yeah, with that out of the way, guys, let's actually move on to his wrist here, which is a problem I do have. They gave him these really horrid bulky ball joints for the wrist, and then they gave him tiny hands. If his hands were a little bit bigger, just to compensate for the size of that ball joint, I think I would like it a little bit better, and because he has some really small hands, which, yeah, I'm not a fan of the tiny hands. So having a look at the rest of his costume, something that McFarlane did was add some detailing to it, because in the comics the suit was just like your traditional Superman suit. It didn't have any of these line work throughout the blue parts, So that is added for the figure, which I think it does bring out some detail and just breaks up some of that monotonous smooth sculpt that we see on some costumes. We do have some more tubes running from his waist all the way down to his boots, which look really nice, and surprisingly those don't really get in the way of articulation, so I really do like that. Those tubes are done really well, and they are done in a soft plastic, so they do move and bend as you need them to. Boots are done in a silver plastic. As you can see, they do have some really nice sculpted detailing on them. No paint, but actually they might have some paint on them. It's hard to tell under these lights because the metallic swirls in the plastic kind of give it the illusion of paint, but yeah, it might just be cast in that marbleized silver. It might actually be paint. Who knows, but having a look at it, it's still very nice. And the final thing we're going to have a look at is his cape, which McFarlane excels in doing good capes, and you can see it has some really nice wrinkles and folds to it, especially when we get to the end of the cape right here, how it just billows out like that. It looks so nice. It's what you expect a Superman cape to be like. But anyway guys, that's Superboy-Prime for you, and I really do like the way he came out. So with that out of the way guys, let's actually get him compared to other figures you may have in your collection. Here we have Superboy-Prime posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Superboy-Prime posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. Here we have Superboy-Prime posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. And finally, here we do have Superboy-Prime posed next to a McFarlane Lex Luthor and a McFarlane Superman. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a look at Superboy's articulation. Now, Superboy-Prime does have the standard McFarlane articulation with some limitations that I do gotta mention here. So his head can look up to about right there, which is pretty decent. He can look down, so you do get some personality, especially when you have him looking off like that. Really do like that. We get some nice rotation, or not rotation, but swivel. Not even swivel, just good head movement right here. It does swivel around nicely. Even though he does have a collar right here, it's a soft plastic, so it gets out of the way. Shoulders are severely limited. Now, it is on a ball joint, so you can pivot them up and down, forward and back a little bit, but we do have this piece of armor, and this isn't made in soft plastic. It's kind of rigid, so when you move his arm, it does get out of the way a little bit, but move his arm or straight back down. So posing Superboy-Prime is going to be a little bit of a hassle. Yeah, so when you move his arm up, you can see it fights against the armor, and then the armor just pushes it back down, goes out to the side to about right there. Would go higher, but again, the armor keeps it from going around. What they should have done is attach this shoulder plate to maybe the bicep, and that would have freed up so much more movement. So yeah, that is unfortunate. He can swivel at the bicep right here, but you got to be careful that you don't go all the way around. You don't go too crazy, because he does have a tube right here which does prevent that. As you can see, you get some pretty decent movement, but don't go overboard with it. Does have double bend here at the arm, going up to about right there, which is still pretty decent. A ball hinge here at the wrist goes forward and back, rotates, so we have in and out hinge, so that really does work fine. He has a ball joint here in the torso, which does pivot back quite a bit. Pivots forward a little bit, but I would like to see that backwards movement applied going forward. He does have some really crazy tilt, so I do like that, as well as some rotation. Does rotate here at the waist, as well as crunches, so we do get some articulation here, going forward to about right there. Leans back, absolutely no problem. I have no idea why McFarlane figures lean so far back, but yeah, we do have rotation at the waist. Legs do kick forward to about right here, which is really nice. You don't have to worry about these tubes getting caught on anything, because his leg can't go up higher than this. Does go out to the side. Does he have a thigh swivel? Yes, he has a little bit of a thigh swivel, but as you can see, if he did have thigh swivel, these would get in the way. He does have a knee joint, which does go back about that far. Surprisingly, these tubes don't get in the way. His arm tubes seem more cumbersome than his leg tubes, which is surprising. Then we do have rotation here at the foot, as well as a hinge going forward and back. We can rotate that to give him a true rocker ankle with the forward facing pin, and then we do have a very generous toe hinge. So overall, Superboy-Prime here has some pretty decent articulation. Could be better, and I do have to mention that the articulation is severely hampered by these shoulder pads. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get him posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so finally, here we do have the McFarlane DC Multiverse Superboy-Prime pose for my final thoughts. And overall, I really do like this figure. He has a lot of things going for him, but he also has a lot of things going against him. For one, the armor does make it very, very difficult posing this figure. If they had just attached his shoulder pads to his bicep, that would free up a lot of movement, especially in his shoulders. Because as it stands, it is very hard to get his shoulders posed because the armor he has on him really does restrict movement, and it fights against it at every corner. I think if they went with a softer plastic, it would have done a little bit better, but it also risks tearing at points, and you don't really want your figure to be tearing, so I can understand why they opted for the more firm plastic. But honestly, I think they should have just attached it to the bicep like they've been doing with previous figures. It's still a very, very well done figure, and I do like the fact that it is the armor that he wore toward the end of Infinite Crisis and the armor that he is known for wearing. The second armor that he's known for wearing is the anti-monitor armor, which I think this is a more iconic look for the figure. I still think that they could have done a little bit more, especially in terms of paint. If they had added a little more paint to this figure, that would be really good. But as far as detailing goes, this is one of the best head sculpts that McFarlane has made for a Superman figure, and I would love to see them use this as a base to make other Superman figures. This is still a very solid figure, and if you are looking for a Superboy-Prime, I did pick up mine up from Amazon, where he did run me about $20, which is exceptionally good prices for figures, especially because a lot of companies are starting to charge $24 for a 6-inch figure. That's outrageous. McFarlane is able to give us 7-inch figures with really good articulation for $20. Superboy-Prime here is still a very solid figure, and if you can find him in stores, definitely pick him up. You want to have this figure in your collection if you're a fan of Superman, Superboy-Prime, or you've read Infinite Crisis and you're a fan of that. Definitely pick up Superboy-Prime and add him to your collection. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other DC Multiverse videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you'd like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it fits in my collection, I'll gladly have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.